So this is the self-development with tactics book. So this one's gonna be again about mental health and, or to be specific, about loneliness. Well, but no. Always good if your intro isn't actually working. But with that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. I do hope, by the way, that the audio is good enough, because somehow my stand here, so actually my selfie stick, is somehow positioned weirdly. Doesn't matter actually, but I'm a little bit feared that, when I bump into it a little bit, then it's gonna fall off and it's gonna be extremely fucking loud for you. Wouldn't be that nice. But as yesterday, we are going ahead with something about mental health and or something about mental conditions, mental or psychological things, I would say, which is loneliness. And again, it is an ideas.that.com article. Because I've liked the article yesterday so much, I've actually decided to go through a similar article like last day's ones, because it has really been just something very, 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 very absolutely great. And I've really enjoyed it. I've been just really liking this article yesterday. And I do think this is one of the most important episodes that I've ever made. It's just incredible. But I still think that, it could help a lot of people. And I do think also this one could help a lot of people, potentially. The problem about the whole fact is that nobody yet is watching my videos, and therefore I'm just really looking forward to in 8 years when I might be blown up, in terms of not that, but in terms of actually being recognized, or that I were recognized a little bit before, and after the 8-year month, 8-year kind of never mind. Let's go ahead with the article, or let's actually begin with the article. It is actually a pretty short one, so I do think that I'm not going to finish it just way too quickly, way too quickly. But I guess, in the end, it's always going to be just, like always, that I'm just, talking about certain things so much that I'm not actually, so that I'm actually having to kind of go on a little bit during the whole thing, so that I actually can somehow finish the whole thing. I hope you've understood this. I really hope. So, How to Beat Loneliness by Guy Winch, or Wink actually. We've all felt lonely from time to time, but sometimes things can get out of hand. Psychologist Guy Winch, or Wink, lays out some straightforward tips to deal with the pain of deep loneliness. Loneliness is a subjective feeling. You may be surrounded by other people, friends and family, or workmates, and yet still feel emotionally or socially disconnected from those around you. Other people are not guaranteed to shield us against the raw emotional pain that loneliness inflicts. And I truly think that it is actually pain. Like being alone, and I think being lonely is one of the most devastatingly bad things that actually can happen to you somehow, because it really is fucked up. Also because I think, and I somehow know, that we are all kind of just very social people. I think the human being as such is actually pretty social, even though I do think about why some people actually do like to be just alone so much. Certain people do just, would rather be alone than be in a group or be with other people or something. And I don't know if this is actually normal. I was assuming, and I still assume, that it is somehow not, because back in the days, back in our really early days, we would have all died, if we would have been alone. And this was just a real kind of advantage of actually being so many. There were so many predators like wolves and dinosaurs and whatever there was, just a lot of these. And I guess, if we wouldn't have this kind of feeling of being alone or just, willing to have some people around us, I do think we just would have died. And we wouldn't be there now, because Because I don't know, like, all these dangerous animals and all these predators we had were just way, way, way stronger than we are. In terms of actually we being alone, or maybe me being alone, I wouldn't have any fucking chance against a fucking wolf. Like, this wolf would destroy me. Fucking destroy me. And actually, I don't know if this is somehow right, but it seems to be like, this is actually information from a TV series and German one, which is actually airing quite often, like every single day. And I don't know, like, sometimes I feel like their information that they are actually spreading is wrong somehow, and somehow it is good, and somehow it is also right, and still they just make a very interesting kind of episodes, if you're willing, videos. Now they're actually kind of turning into the whole streaming thing, and they're actually turning and or changing into the whole YouTube thing, which I guess, I don't know how you're feeling about it, but I kind of feel like the TV is not going to be there in 10 years. Totally not. I guess there will totally be something different. Like, the thing is, my parents, for example, they watch TV every single day. Like, in the evening when they, relax and chill out and whatsoever. But the thing is, I don't watch any TV. Like, the little bit of TV that I watched, I think 1 or 2 years ago, was actually only soccer. Because, it was much better with my bad internet back in the days, or bad just Wi-Fi back in the days, to watch the whole game on TV, because everything was without any lags, without any kind of connection problems and whatsoever. So, but now I can actually watch it on my PC, if it is available. Sometimes it's fucking not. When I'm actually watching something, the only thing that I'm actually watching is YouTube. I'm not a big Netflix guy. I'm not watching Maxdome. I'm not watching, Amazon Prime. I do only consume YouTube videos. I don't know, like, I sometimes feel like, well, I don't know, like, there's so many people who are just, watching series all the fucking time. And I can understand this, this is something that totally is understandable by me, but, I don't know, if it is a waste of time or not. I guess if it's making you happy and you're, and whatsoever, then I guess it is totally fine, and it is totally okay and totally good. But if it's like, okay, just a waste of time and it just prevents you from doing something that actually will make you happy, then it is really fucked up, and then you should totally change up your patterns. My point of view. But let's see, let's actually move on. But raw emotional pain is only the beginning of the damage loneliness can cause. It has a huge impact on our physical health as well. Loneliness activates our physical and psychological stress responses and suppresses the function of our immune system. This puts us at increased risk for developing all kinds of illnesses and diseases, including cardiovascular disease. Shockingly, the long-term risk chronic loneliness poses to our health and longevity is so severe, it actually increases risk of an early death by 26%. But what I actually wanted to say, or initially wanted to say, that this series, or this somehow, this provider or broadcaster, it's a series. It really is a series. They said that being lonely is just easily compared to actually smoking 2 cigarettes a day, and everybody knows that this is not good. It clearly is not good. Smoking 2 fucking cigarettes a fucking day. It really is not. The thing there is, it is just really severe that it is actually causing the same exact problems or the same exact kind of risk for your health, which is really insane. Just by being lonely, which is something that's just really quite nothing. The problem there is as well that it just totally comes up to, or is totally also manipulated and can be changed by you thinking about the whole situation differently. If you do somehow focus on the good things about being lonely, like, okay, you can do whatever you want, nobody's kind of getting into your way, and whatsoever, those things, I guess nothing will happen. But I do think that the whole loneliness thing, if you say you're feeling lonely, I guess it just means that you're feeling bad about being alone. Like, I do not think that there is actually a positive connotation to being lonely. But it's just about the word now. It's not really about the meaning of it, but rather the word. So emerging from loneliness is far more challenging than we realize. There are many paths to loneliness. Some enter loneliness gradually, for example, when you're pretty old and, your wife or husband dies. I really assume, by the way, that it's just fucking shocking, and this is just really, really sad and bad. If you've just been living with a person for such a long time and then they just aren't there anymore. I do just really realize that it's really fucking bad. It really fucking is. And I do really just quite admire those people that are still being happy or that still are kind of positive about their whole life. And even though they are old, which is, as such, not that well or not that good, and they are alone, they have lost a person that has been with them for probably, I don't know, it doesn't have to be the case, for a long time. It is devastating. It really is. And I nearly fucking had to cry because I don't know. I was so empathetic with this situation that I was thinking about. It's just, just really fucking bad. Others enter loneliness more suddenly when they leave for college or the military, lose a partner to death or divorce, start a new job, or to move a new town or country. And for some, chronic illnesses, disability, or other limiting conditions have made loneliness a lifelong companion. Unfortunately, emerging from loneliness is far more challenging than we realize, as the psychological wounds it inflicts create a trap from which it is difficult to break free. Loneliness distorts our perceptions, making us believe the people around us care much less than they actually do, and it makes us view our existing relationships more negatively, such that we see them as less meaningful and important than we would if we were not lonely. Which is just really a vicious cycle. And I do think, I actually hope that I'm using this word correctly, because sometimes, and it has been the case for quite a lot of things, I would say, I've been using words for a completely wrong reason or in a completely wrong way, and it shouldn't actually be the case. It's not that good. It really is not. But I've been talking about the whole distortion and also reality distortion and or cognitive distortion. Yeah, it is, I think, called cognitive distortion in another book or throughout another book, which could have been mindset, but no, it wasn't mindset. I unfortunately don't remember. It's actually always the case that I do not remember. But there are just a lot of ways we somehow see our reality or the reality differently than it actually is. There are just a lot of ways. Like people that are like, okay, everything is what it is, and there is nothing to change about this, all the things and whatever. This is, for example, a cognitive distortion. And this also is a cognitive distortion, that you somehow feel like that something is happening or something is a way that it actually isn't. Or it is actually not the way. So this is actually also one of these cognitive distortions. And there are way, way, way fucking more of them. Also like feeling always like the victim, I guess, is also one of these. Being always like, okay, everything, well, it's the same case as this one, just saying like, everyone is so mad at me, nobody likes me and whatsoever, which is totally not true. But the problem there is, it is, at my point of view at least, very difficult to just step out of this vicious cycle, because it is a fucking cycle. And, if we really believe something, it is, I think, pretty hard to change. Even though, for some people it might be just really easy, and for some it might be very, very hard and or tough. So I think it really comes up to who you are and how you think about certain things and how you maybe live life. These distorted perceptions have a huge ripple effect, creating self-fulfilling prophecies that ensnare many. Feeling emotionally raw and convinced of our own undesirably undesirability and of the diminished caring of others, we hesitate to reach out even as we are likely to respond to overtunes or overturns or tours from others with hesitance, resentment, skepticism, or desperation, effectively pushing away the very people who could elevate our condition. Yeah, it is actually the case. I do really think that in the end, we are basically only pushing away the people that can actually help us and that are able to help us, maybe even your best friend, maybe even your mother, maybe even your brother. This could actually be the case because you think like they don't like you, they don't care about you because something happened once, or your family just dislikes you. Even though it's not the case, but you're still thinking it and you're still believing it. And this is, I think, the whole problem, that we believe it then. And once we believe something, I guess it is pretty tough to change it up, because we believe in it. And I gotta have to drink something, I'm sorry. I think it's pretty tough, those cognitive distortions, and still it is a pretty interesting thing. And I also think that if you kind of read more about it, or if you get more knowledge in this certain space and more knowledge about those cognitive distortions, I do also believe that you can really help yourself and or prevent yourself of actually getting into such a vicious cycle, or to actually somehow think like, am I doing something like this? Is this happening to me and I'm actually not realizing it? I do think this is only possible if you know that there's something like this, and how they are, like, what types of cognitive distortions there are, and whatsoever. So I do think it is just really often the first step to actually realize, that something is going on and whatsoever. How do you actually call the water? Is it sprinkling water? Like, if it's like little, like, sprinkly. Well, never mind. Distorted perceptions have a huge ripple effect, creating self-fulfilling prophecies that ensnare many. Which is just a quote, so I know that I've read it already, but it's just a quote in the middle of the text. So as a result, many lonely people withdraw and isolate themselves to avoid risking further rejection or disappointment. And when they do venture into the world, their hesitance and doubts are likely to create the very reaction they fear. They will force themselves to attend a party but feel so convinced others won't talk to them. They spend the entire evening parked by the hummus and vegetable dip with a scroll. What is a scroll? It's SCOWL. So frown, glower, glare, grimace, black look, dirty look, death stare. What the fucking hell? On their face, and indeed no one dares approach, which from the only verifies their fundamental undesirability. And it makes sense, if you're in a party and if you're really acting like, nobody is liking me and nobody is willing to talk to me, for sure, you're gonna act on your fucking thinking, and this is just something so clear for me. Even though what I've just said also surprised me to some degree, because I have been thinking about whether it is actually the case that if you're thinking about something, that you're also kind of acting on it. But I guess this is just the case, You're thinking like that nobody wants to do something with you. Well, it's not exactly the case, but in the end, it just turns out to be the way you thought it would be, because you are acting like a fucking jerk, and you're acting like a person nobody actually wants to interact with. Yeah, very complicated somehow. But yeah, I do think that the only thing, and the solution must be, or for me at least, is to think about it differently, to think about the situation differently. Because if you somehow, thinking about it differently in terms of actually not thinking that nobody's gonna talk to you, I wouldn't necessarily say that you just have to think like, okay, everybody's gonna talk to me and I'm gonna be the most kind of hit up person on the fucking party or something. I wouldn't say so, but I guess, if you say like, and if you think like that you are not going to be talked to, so like you're going to be talked to, well, or yeah, if you don't think that nobody is willing to talk to you, I guess it's still making everything better. Like, yeah, for me there is somehow a difference between actually thinking like, okay, the positive one, and this neutral kind of thinking. Yeah, never mind. Never fucking mind, actually. So breaking free of loneliness and healing our psychological wounds is possible, but it involves a decision to override the gut instinct telling you to stay away and to play it safe by isolating yourself. Instead, you must do 3 things that require both courage and a leap of faith. So take action. Accept that loneliness is impacting your perceptions and understand that people are likely to respond more positively than you expect. Whoa, I just thought that I stopped the whole fucking recording. So if you feel socially disconnected, go through your phone and email address books and your social media contacts and make a list of people you haven't seen or spoken to for a while. If you feel emotionally disconnected, make a list of 5 people you've been close to in the past. Reach out to them and suggest getting together and catching up. Yes, it will feel scary to do so, and yes, you will worry about it being awkward or uncomfortable. That is why it is also important to give the benefit of the doubt. It is fair to assume that someone who enjoyed your company in the past would likely enjoy spending time with you in the present as well. Yes, maybe they have been out of touch, maybe they have never called after promising to see you soon, but you must accept that the reason they have been out of touch or the reason you haven't been close lately might have nothing to do with you, which is, I guess, often the case. Like, well, before I was attending this school that I'm on right now, I was going to another school, and because the school that I'm in or that I'm attending right now is quite far away from where I actually live. So basically, a 1-hour ride with your car. And there was nobody actually that I knew before. Just closely knew. Like there was no friend of mine in the new school, and it's been turning out that those old friends that I had and that I'm still having, how should I say, like, they have done their thing and I have done my thing. I have found new friends, they have also found new friends, and everything just took its way. Like everything just, they lived their life, I lived my life, and it turned out to okay. Like we haven't seen each other for quite some time. When I'm seeing, some of them, or if we see each other, we're just greeting each other, we're kind of, bumping fists or something. We're still cool. Like, but we're not just, we're not doing so much things. But I wouldn't say that this is bad necessarily, because you can still hit these people up. You can still be like, okay, hey bro, do you want to hang out? And then they say yes, of course, or they say, well, I do not have the time. And then you ask again and again and again until you maybe realize that they don't want you to accompany. And this would then be like, okay, also not necessarily negative. But yeah, let's actually see. In all likelihood, it is their busy lives, their competing priorities, stresses, or opportunities that led to the disconnect between you. In many cases, there might not even be a disconnect. In other words, the reluctance you assume on their part might not even exist. So reach out to the people on your list, but remember to approach with positivity. I think you should always fucking approach with positivity, because why would you? The thing that's really driving me crazy, it somehow is really driving me crazy, and I can't speak today, is that so many fucking people, and I'm not complaining, I'm really not complaining. So many people are negative. So many fucking people are negative. If young or old, it doesn't matter. In every kind of section, every kind of level of existence, whether old, whether young, whether black or white, whether, Asian, European or American, there is always going to be a negative person. And I don't really get it. In terms of, okay, I can understand it, but it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It really doesn't. It really does not make sense that especially, people, I even though, I do just have to say, people in Africa, people that are just really fucking poor, also in Asia and wherever, just unfortunately these people are living, when they are feeling bad, and they are, actually the thing is, they often do not feel so bad. For sure they feel bad, but we feel bad, and I guess, we feeling bad is the exact same feeling bad as they feel bad, somehow. But I don't know, for all the people that are actually living in North America, and I do know that there are some people from California, probably, that are watching this, that are, at least hearing this, because my analytics say that, a lot of people are, or just a high percentage is from California. Do not be negative. There is nothing to be negative about. And also for all the fucking people that are from Europe, there's nothing to complain about. For sure, there will probably be families and people that are poor, even though they are living in Europe or North America or in other just actually rich regions. But still, you are alive, you do have something, and you basically have all the possibilities that someone can have. Yeah. The last one is approach with positivity. Yes, you fear rejection, and yes, you're not in the best frame of mind, but this is one situation where it might be important to fake it. I wouldn't say so. So when contacting the people on your list, try to put yourself into a positive mindset. One safe way to do this is by using text or email. So you can use emoticons to create this smiley face you might have a hard time manufacturing on your own face. Review your message before you send them to make sure they sound appealing. Avoid occasions, "You haven't called me in months!" ! Or statements of disconnect, "I know it must be weird to hear from me." Express positive sentiment, "was thinking about you," or "miss you," an invitation, "let's grab a coffee," or "I would love to get dinner and catch up," and be specific in terms of time framing. "How's next week looking?" Or what's a good day this month? Actually makes sense that you're specific about it, because if this is really a person that you have been disconnected from, it makes sense that if you ask okay, do you want to do something? Just that's it. I guess, there might actually be again the case that you will disconnect if you don't make it as clear as possible. Loneliness is extremely painful, but once you recognize the perceptual distortions it causes and the psychological trap it creates, you will be able to marshal your courage, take that leap of faith, and plan your escape. Freedom will be sweet once you do. That's actually true. And my throat is getting pretty dry. Yeah, it's fucking dry. Oh my god. I can't speak today. Speaking today is a little bit weird, to be honest. I don't know why. I really don't know. Even though, as I'm thinking about it, I really like to speak. It's about the language. I really like to talk in English. Even though it has been something different a few months ago, I'd say. Is it now raining? But well, this is the end of the episode, actually. And I do hope that you've enjoyed it and that you've maybe also learned something, or I actually hope that you've learned something. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success, and I do hope that you're gonna remind yourself on how you're gonna be remembered, which means your legacy, and you basically decide how people are looking at you, what they see, and or how you're going to be remembered. You know, whether as a good person or as a bad person, you totally have control over that. And that being said, thank you very much for watching from the bottom of my fucking heart, and I'll see you the next time.